Captain James Walker stood tall in the massive circular chamber of the Galactic Council. The room stretched upward for what seemed like miles, with thousands of alien representatives seated in floating platforms that spiraled toward a distant ceiling. Holographic displays flickered all around him, showing his face to every member present. He tried not to fidget as hundreds of different species studied him like a curious specimen. "And these," Walker said, holding up his standard-issue military sidearm, "are what we call firearms. They use controlled explosions to propel metal projectiles at high velocities." He kept his voice steady, though his heart pounded against his chest. This was humanity's first formal presentation to the Council since Earth joined the galactic community 6 months ago. A burst of laughter echoed through the chamber. It started with the Crimson Empire's delegation. Tall, crystalline beings whose bodies glowed with internal energy, and spread across the chamber like a wave. Even the usually stoic council leader, a being made of swirling gas contained within an environmental suit, seemed to vibrate with amusement. Explosions? Metal projectiles. The Crimson Empire's ambassador's voice dripped with mockery. "Are you describing weapons or ancient history?" More laughter followed. Walker gripped the podium tighter. He'd expected some resistance, but not outright ridicule. "Our firearms have served us well for centuries. We've refined the technology to—" "To what?" interrupted another delegate, this one a being of pure light. "To make slightly faster explosions, slightly harder metals." The chamber filled with more laughter. "We abandoned such primitive tools when our species were still learning to walk upright." The council leader raised a tendril for silence. When the chamber quieted, their synthesized voice echoed through the room. "Captain Walker, while we appreciate Earth's enthusiasm for joining the galactic community, you must understand our reaction. The weapons you describe belong in museums, not modern warfare. Every species here has mastered energy-based weapons, shield technology, and antimatter containment." Walker tried again. "With respect, Council Leader, our weapons are charming relics," the Crimson Empire's ambassador cut in. "Like watching children play with wooden swords." He turned to address the wider council. "I move to classify humans as a protected species. Clearly, they need guidance and supervision before they can be trusted with real weapons." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Walker felt his face grow hot, but years of military discipline kept his expression neutral. He watched as the council members began their voting procedure, their choices displayed as glowing symbols above their heads. The council leader's voice boomed through the chamber once more. "The vote is nearly unanimous. Earth is hereby classified as a protected species. For their own safety, humans will be restricted from accessing advanced weapon technologies until they prove themselves capable of moving beyond their primitive methods." Walker opened his mouth to protest, but the council leader continued. "This is for your own good, Captain. Your species is young. In time, you will learn to abandon these dangerous explosive weapons and embrace proper energy-based technology. Until then, we will watch over you, guide you, protect you from yourselves." As Walker left the chamber, he heard the Crimson Empire's ambassador speaking to a group of delegates. "Can you imagine? Using explosions to throw metal. What's next? Throwing rocks." Their laughter followed him down the corridor. Back on his ship, Walker sat heavily in his command chair. He looked at the sidearm holstered at his hip, a weapon that had saved his life more times than he could count. The council's dismissal stung, but something about their reaction bothered him more than the insults. They weren't just arrogant, they were complacent. Every species using the same type of technology, all of them certain they'd found the only correct path. None of them seemed to consider that different approaches might have different advantages. As his ship broke orbit from the council world, Walker couldn't shake the feeling that this wouldn't be the last time humans would surprise their new galactic neighbors. Sometimes, he thought, being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. They needed to know about this development, and about the dangerous overconfidence he'd witnessed in the council chamber. The galaxy thought they were protecting humanity, but Walker wondered who would protect them when they realized their mistake. Kate Roberts stared at the holographic display until her eyes burned. As Earth's military intelligence officer, she had spent the last 3 months studying alien trade routes, and something wasn't right. The Crimson Empire's ships were making strange detours, always just outside normal scanning range of Earth's space. "Computer, show me the resource transfer patterns again," she ordered. The hologram shifted, displaying hundreds of tiny dots moving between stars. Most followed regular paths, but the Crimson Empire's vessels. "There," she muttered, marking another irregular movement. Their ships were stockpiling resources in an empty system just 2 jumps from Earth. Mining vessels, cargo ships, and most worrying of all, their newest energy core transporters. A knock on her office door broke her concentration. "Come in." Captain Walker entered, looking tired. 3 months had passed since his disastrous presentation to the Council. "Please tell me you have something, Kate." Earth Command is breathing down my neck about these movements. She nodded, gesturing to the display. "Look here, and especially here." She pointed to different clusters of dots. "They're building something big, James. Really big." Walker frowned at the display. "The Council said they'd protect us. Why would they let the Crimson Empire?" "Because the Council doesn't see them as a threat," Kate cut in. "Just like they don't see us as equals. According to their laws, the Crimson Empire is just conducting routine resource gathering in neutral space." "We need to warn the Council," Walker said, already reaching for his communicator. Kate brought up another display, this one showing the specifications of Crimson Empire ships. "I already tried. 3 times. Want to know what they said?" She mimicked the Council leader's synthesized voice. "Your primitive scanning technology must be malfunctioning. The Crimson Empire's energy shields make them incapable of hostile action against protected species." Walker slammed his fist on the desk. "Damn their arrogance. They're so convinced their energy shields make them invincible that they won't even consider the possibility of danger." "It gets worse," Kate said, pulling up more data. "I've been studying their shield technology. They've standardized it across their entire fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every defense system, all using the same frequency patterns. They're so sure of their technological superiority that they've never considered it might be a weakness. A single point of failure," Walker mused, his military training kicking in. "If someone found a way past those shields, they'd be completely exposed," Kate finished. "But they've dismissed our weapons as toys, so they've never bothered to test their shields against them." Walker paced the room, thinking hard. "How long do we have?" Kate studied the movement patterns again, based on their current rate of resource gathering and the size of their fleet movements. 2 months, maybe less. That's not much time. "No, it's not." Kate pulled up one final display, a message she'd intercepted and decoded. "And this is why we need to act fast." It's an internal communication from their fleet commander. "They're not just building something, James. They're planning an invasion. They think that as a protected species, we'll be easy to conquer." Walker's face hardened. "Send everything you found to Earth Command and Dr. Reed's team. If the Council won't help us, we'll have to help ourselves." Kate nodded, her fingers flying over the holographic controls. As she worked, she glanced at the simple projectile pistol on her hip, the same kind the Council had laughed at. She thought about their standardized shields, their complete confidence in their superior technology, their dismissal of humanity's weapons as primitive toys. "You know what's funny?" she said as she finished transmitting the data. "They're so advanced that they've forgotten one of the most basic military principles." "What's that?" "Never underestimate your enemy." She shut down the displays. "And never, ever let them know exactly how your defenses work." As Walker left her office, Kate turned to stare out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Crimson Empire was preparing for war, confident in their superior technology. They thought Earth would be an easy conquest. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Thomas Reed held up a single bullet to the light. It looked ordinary enough, a simple brass casing with a lead core. But this bullet was anything but ordinary. "Try it again," he told his team, placing the round in a testing chamber. On the other side of the barrier stood their latest acquisition, a salvaged energy shield from a broken alien mining vessel. The shield hummed with a familiar blue glow. The test gun fired. The bullet left the barrel spinning not just around its axis, but oscillating in a complex pattern. As it hit the energy shield, something remarkable happened. Instead of disintegrating against the barrier like normal rounds, this one passed straight through. The shield flickered and died. "Record that," Reed ordered, trying to keep his voice steady despite his excitement. "Test number 47 successful. Full shield penetration achieved." His assistant Mark ran up with a tablet showing the data. "Doctor, look at these readings." The bullet's oscillation frequency matched the shield's exactly at the moment of impact. It created a perfect harmonic resonance. Reed nodded. When Kate Roberts had first shared the data about the Crimson Empire's standardized shield frequencies, he'd almost couldn't believe their luck. Their enemies had literally given them the key to their own destruction. "How's production going?" he asked, walking through the vast underground facility. Hundreds of workers moved between machines, converting old ammunition production lines to create their new specialized rounds. "We're at 60% capacity," Mark reported. "The alien metallurgy we reversed engineered from their mining equipment makes all the difference. These new casings can handle the oscillation without breaking apart." They reached the main production floor just as Captain Walker and Kate Roberts arrived for their weekly inspection. Both looked worried. "Please tell me you have good news," Walker said, skipping any greeting. "Our latest intelligence suggests we have less than 3 weeks before the Crimson Empire makes their move." Reed led them to a secure briefing room. The walls were lined with diagrams showing bullet designs and shield frequency patterns. "We've cracked it," he said, placing the test bullet on the table. "This round can penetrate their shields. Every shield they have, in fact, since they all use the same frequency." Kate picked up the bullet, examining it closely. "It looks so simple." "That's the beauty of it," Reed explained. "The Council's arrogance is our greatest advantage. They never bothered to protect against physical ammunition because they thought it was beneath them. They built their entire defense doctrine around energy weapons. And they shared their shield technology with everyone," Walker added, "because they thought it was unbeatable." Reed brought up a holographic display showing the bullet's path through the shield. The round oscillates at exactly the right frequency to pass through their energy barriers. It creates a momentary hole, too brief for energy weapons to exploit, but more than enough time for a physical bullet to pass through. "How many can you make?" Walker asked. "We're retrofitting ammunition factories across Earth. Within 2 weeks, we can arm every ship and ground force we have." Reed paused. "The Crimson Empire won't know what hit them. Their ship's armor is actually quite weak behind those shields. They never thought they'd need anything more." Kate smiled grimly. "They called our weapons primitive, but sometimes the old ways are best." "Speaking of old ways," Reed said, walking to a large covered object in the corner. He pulled off the sheet, revealing a massive rotary cannon. "This is our new ship-mounted version. Fires 300 oscillating rounds per minute. We call it the Shield Breaker." Walker ran his hand along the weapon's barrel. "When they dismissed us as primitive, they forgot something important about humanity." "What's that?" Mark asked. "We don't just keep our old technology because we're backward. We keep it because it works, and we never stop making it better." Reed checked his watch. "The first shipment of rounds goes out tonight. Every human ship will be armed with them within days. And the best part," he grinned, "the Council's sensors won't even register them as weapons. After all, they're just primitive projectiles." In the testing range behind them, another bullet pierced another energy shield. The future of warfare was changing, and the Crimson Empire had no idea what was coming. The attack came at dawn, Earth time. The Crimson Empire's fleet emerged from hyperspace near Mars, their ships glowing with powerful energy shields. 300 vessels strong, they moved in perfect formation toward the human colonies. In the command center of Mars Defense Station Alpha, alarms blared. Emergency messages flooded every channel. This is Mars Colony requesting immediate assistance. Multiple hostile ships detected. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, watching the enemy fleet approach. His ship, along with 20 others, had been secretly stationed behind Phobos, Mars's largest moon. Each vessel carried Dr. Reed's new weapons, hidden from the Council's routine inspections. All ships maintain radio silence. Walker ordered quietly. Let them think Mars is defenseless. The Crimson Empire's commander broadcast on all frequencies, his voice dripping with confidence. Attention, primitive humans. Your Mars colonies are now under our control. Resistance is pointless. Your weapons cannot harm us. Surrender, and we will be merciful. Walker watched as the enemy fleet spread out, preparing to surround the colonies. They moved slowly, casually, showing no fear of human defenses. Why should they? Their energy shields had never failed before. All ships, prepare shield breakers, Walker commanded. Remember your training. Short bursts only. We don't need to waste ammunition. Their armor is weak behind those shields. The enemy ships reached Mars orbit. Their commander spoke again. Your silence is wise. Now, watch how true power. All ships, fire. The shield breakers roared to life. Streams of specially designed bullets erupted from hidden human vessels, each round oscillating at the exact frequency of the Crimson Empire's standardized shields. The enemy commander's transmission cut off in mid-sentence as the first rounds struck his flagship. The mighty energy shields, pride of their civilization, flickered and died. Bullets tore through the suddenly exposed hull like paper. Impossible. The new voice on the command channel was high with panic. Their primitive weapons. They're penetrating our shields. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Battle Group 1. Target their engines. Battle Group 2. Protect the colonies. Battle Group 3. With me. Let's show them what these primitive weapons can really do. Chaos erupted across space. The Crimson Empire's fleet, caught completely by surprise, tried to regroup. But their tactics were all based on energy weapons and impenetrable shields. They had no strategy for dealing with physical projectiles that could ignore their defenses. Sir, Walker's tactical officer called out. They're trying to retreat. Oh no you don't, Walker muttered. All ships target their hyperspace drives. Don't let them warn the others. More shield breakers fired, their specialized rounds cutting through enemy defenses like they weren't even there. Explosions bloomed silently in space as ship after ship lost their shields and felt the bite of human ammunition. The Crimson Empire's formation broke completely. Ships scattered in every direction, their once proud energy weapons useless against the human vessels. Their shots dissipated harmlessly against the defender's hull. Regular armor was still quite effective against energy weapons. Sir, incoming transmission from Mars Colony, the communications officer reported. They're cheering for us. Walker keyed his ship-wide comm. Don't celebrate yet. Target the remaining ships. We can't let a single one escape to warn their fleet. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the space around Mars was filled with drifting debris. The remains of the Crimson Empire's invincible fleet. Not a single enemy ship had escaped. Walker opened a channel to Earth Command. First strike successful. The shield breakers worked perfectly. Enemy fleet destroyed. He paused, then added, You better warn Dr. Reed. After this, every human ship in the galaxy is going to want his bullets. Understood, Captain, came the reply. But we've got bigger problems. Long-range sensors show multiple Crimson Empire fleets mobilizing. They don't know what happened here yet, but they're sticking to their invasion plan. Walker looked at the debris field around his ship. Let them come. They thought our weapons were primitive, our technology backwards. He watched as his crew loaded more oscillating rounds into the shield breakers. Time to show the galaxy that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Behind him, Mars gleamed red in the sunlight, still free, still human. The real war was about to begin. Word spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Crimson Empire's fleet, destroyed. Their mighty shields, useless. Their invincible warships, reduced to drifting wreckage. And the cause? Simple metal bullets from a species they had mocked as primitive. In the council chamber, panic reigned. The same aliens who had laughed at human weapons now shouted over each other in fear. How is this possible? The council leader demanded, their gaseous forms swirling with agitation. Show us the battle footage again. The holographic display replayed the scene. Human ships appearing from behind Mars' moon, their weapons firing streams of bullets that passed through energy shields like they weren't even there. Crimson Empire ships exploding, their once proud fleet reduced to ruins in less than an hour. Kate Roberts stood before them now, no longer seeking their help but delivering a warning. The bullets are designed to oscillate at the exact frequency of your standardized shields, she explained. A frequency you shared with everyone, believing your technology was perfect. But they're just projectiles. The Crimson Empire's ambassador sputtered. His crystalline form had lost much of its glow. Primitive weapons. Primitive. Kate smiled coldly. Your shields were designed to stop energy weapons. You never considered that someone might find a way to use that standardization against you. You were so proud of your advancement that you created a single point of failure across your entire defense network. The council chambers erupted again as the implications sank in. Every major species in the galaxy used the same shield technology. They had all believed it was the peak of defensive innovation. Now it was their greatest weakness. Meanwhile, in the space around Saturn, Captain Walker led the defense against a second Crimson Empire fleet. This time, the enemy came prepared for a fight, or so they thought. Their shields are rotating frequencies, his tactical officer reported. They think that will stop our bullets. Walker actually laughed. They still don't understand. Dr. Reed thought of that weeks ago. Switched to Mark I rounds. The new bullets fired from the shield breakers were even more sophisticated than the first version. They adapted their oscillation pattern in real time, matching whatever frequency the enemy shields used. The result was the same. Perfect shield penetration, followed by devastating damage to the unprotected ships beneath. This battle lasted even shorter than the first. The Crimson Empire's fleet never stood a chance. Back on Earth, Dr. Reed watched the battle data with satisfaction. They made a classic mistake, he told his team. They assumed that because our technology was different, it was inferior. They never asked why we kept using bullets when energy weapons existed. Why did we? Asked one of the younger engineers. Because bullets work, Reed said simply. They're reliable, effective, and most importantly, they can be adapted. Energy weapons are flashy, but they're all the same. Everyone copying everyone else's homework, never trying anything new. Reports flooded in from across human space. The Crimson Empire's invasion had been stopped cold. Their fleets were retreating everywhere, their invincible reputation shattered by simple human ingenuity. But the biggest shock came from other alien species. The Council's communication channels were overwhelmed with messages from worlds requesting human weapons. The same primitive technology they had mocked was now the most sought-after defense in the galaxy. Kate stood in the council chamber, watching the chaos with grim satisfaction. We tried to warn you, she said to no one in particular. We tried to tell you about the fleet buildup, about the invasion plans. You dismissed us as primitive, treated us like children. The council leader's voice was much less confident now. What do you want from us? Want? Kate looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of species who had once laughed at humanity. We want what we always wanted, to be treated as equals, to be respected, and most importantly, She paused, letting her words sink in, to make sure everyone understands that different doesn't mean primitive, and that underestimating humans is a very, very bad idea. Above Earth, the shield breaker production facilities worked at full capacity. The galaxy was changing, and humanity's primitive weapons were leading the way. The line of alien ships stretched far into space, waiting their turn to enter Earth's orbit. But these weren't warships. They were diplomatic vessels from every corner of the galaxy. Each carried representatives desperate to make deals with the humans they had once mocked. Captain Walker watched them from the observation deck of the newly constructed Earth space station. Next to him stood Dr. Reed and Kate Roberts, all three still amazed by how quickly things had changed. "Another delegation from the Outer Rim just arrived," Kate said, checking her tablet. "That makes 57 species requesting weapons deals this week alone." Reed shook his head in wonder. From laughingstock to the most sought-after arms dealers in the galaxy, all because we stuck to our primitive guns. A blue-skinned diplomat approached them, bowing deeply. "Honored humans, my people wish to offer rare energy crystals in exchange for your shield breaker technology." His species had been among those laughing the loudest during Walker's first council presentation. "Add them to the list," Walker said to Kate. To the diplomat, he added, "We'll consider all offers equally." The alien hurried away, already being replaced by 3 more representatives. "Speaking of the Crimson Empire," Kate said quietly, "our scouts report their remaining fleets have retreated to their home systems. They're refusing all communication, even with the Council." "Wounded pride," Walker replied. "They built their entire civilization around being the strongest military force in the galaxy. Now everyone knows their shields are useless against simple bullets." An emergency alert flashed on their screens. The Council was calling an immediate session. All 3 humans shared a look. They knew this was coming. In the Council chamber, the atmosphere was totally different from that first meeting. No one was laughing now. The Council leader's gaseous form seemed dimmer, less impressive somehow. "The balance of power has shifted," they announced to the packed chamber. "Humanity's innovation has changed everything. Their weapons can penetrate our strongest defenses. Our military doctrine, based on energy shield supremacy, is obsolete." Murmurs filled the chamber. The Crimson Empire's seats stood empty, a visible reminder of their humiliation. Therefore, the Council leader continued, "We propose reclassifying Earth's status. No longer a protected species, but a full military power with—" "No," Walker interrupted, stepping forward. The chamber fell silent. No one had ever dared interrupt the Council leader before. "No." The leader's form swirled in confusion. "We won't accept a simple status change," Walker said firmly. "Your classification system, your dismissal of different approaches, your technological arrogance, these almost got us killed. Things need to change." Kate joined him at the podium. "We propose a complete restructuring of the Council. No more arbitrary classifications. No more treating different technologies as primitive or advanced. Every species brings something unique to the galaxy. And if we refuse," asked a crystalline being from the upper tiers. Reed held up one of his bullets. "Then you'd better hope someone develops a defense against these quickly. Because right now, humanity's primitive weapons can defeat any ship, any shield, any defense in the galaxy." The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Species that had dominated galactic politics for centuries found themselves facing a choice: adapt to a new reality or risk becoming obsolete. One by one, they voted, not just for humanity's new status, but for a complete reform of the Council itself. The old system of technological supremacy was dead, killed by simple human ingenuity. As the session ended, Walker noticed something interesting. The species that had most recently joined the galactic community were the most enthusiastic supporters of change. They hadn't yet learned to look down on different approaches. "Maybe," he said to Kate and Reed as they left the chamber, "being seen as primitive wasn't a weakness after all. It let us see things they had forgotten. Sometimes the old ways, the simple ways, are best. Above them, more ships arrived, more species eager to learn from the humans they had once dismissed. The galaxy was entering a new age, and humanity was leading the way, one bullet at a time. 1 year after the Crimson Empire's failed invasion, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The great halls of the new Galactic Council on Earth showcased this transformation. Where once there had been floating platforms arranged in rigid hierarchies, now representatives from all species sat together at a round table. Captain Walker, now Admiral Walker, stood at the chamber's center with Dr. Reed and Kate Roberts. Before them lay the latest project they have been working on, a combination of human ballistic technology and alien energy systems. As you can see, Reed explained, holding up a glowing bullet, we've found a way to combine the reliability of projectile weapons with the power of energy cores, the best of both worlds. The council members leaned forward with interest. Even the Crimson Empire's new representative, who had finally returned to galactic politics, showed genuine curiosity rather than dismissal. This is what we meant by innovation through cooperation, Kate added. No technology is primitive if it works. No method is superior just because it's newer. The council leader, now an elected position that rotated between species, nodded in agreement. Humanity has taught us much. Our arrogance nearly doomed us all. What did you call it, Admiral Walker? Common sense, Walker replied with a smile. Sometimes the simple answer is the right one. In orbit above Earth, the massive shipyards told their own story. Vessels from every species now carried both energy weapons and ballistic arms. Shield systems used multiple frequencies, no longer relying on a single standard. The old notion of technological supremacy had been replaced by practical effectiveness. There's more, Reed continued. By studying how different species approach problems, we've made breakthroughs in dozens of fields. Medical technology, faster than light travel, even agriculture. Turns out everyone has something to teach, if we're willing to learn. A small alert chimed on Kate's tablet. Speaking of learning, the first graduating class from the Mixed Technology Academy is ready. Should we show them? Walker nodded, and the chamber's displays came to life. They showed a training facility where young officers from every species learned to use both human and alien technology. Energy rifles sat next to ballistic weapons, shield generators next to physical armor. A year ago, this chamber rang with laughter at our primitive weapons. Walker addressed the council. Today, we understand that true advancement comes not from dismissing the old, but from building upon it. Not from mocking differences, but from embracing them. The Crimson Empire's representatives stood. Their crystalline form shimmered with a new kind of light, humility. We were wrong, they said simply. Our belief in our superiority blinded us. Humanity did not just defeat our weapons. You defeated our arrogance. Kate pulled up another display, showing trading routes between worlds. Unlike the secret military buildups she had tracked a year ago, these showed open exchange of ideas and technology. The galaxy is safer now, she said, not because one type of weapon or shield is superior, but because we've learned to respect different approaches. No more standardized weaknesses. No more technological blind spots. Reed gathered his presentation materials. And no more calling things primitive just because they're different, he added. The chamber murmured in agreement. As the session ended, Walker looked out at the Earth below. Human ships patrolled alongside alien vessels, their crews working together, learning from each other. The Shield Breaker incident, as it was now called, had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson. You know what the best part is, he said to Kate and Reed as they left the chamber. They're not laughing anymore, but we're all smiling. Above them, a new ship class launched from the orbital shipyards. Its design was a collaboration between 6 different species, combining technologies that a year ago would have been considered incompatible. Like the galaxy itself, it was stronger for its diversity. The old council's hierarchies of technological supremacy were gone. In their place stood a new understanding, that innovation comes in many forms, that wisdom can be found in old ways and new, and that underestimating any species, especially humans, was a mistake no one would make again. The galaxy had learned to stop laughing and start listening, and that perhaps was humanity's greatest victory of all.